Good morning, guys. Today we're going to be talking about measuring to the nearest quarter inch. So yesterday we measured to the nearest half inch, and you guys did an amazing job on that lesson. And today we're building on that idea that sometimes things cannot be perfectly measured in whole inches, okay? So sometimes an object isn't exactly 1 inch or exactly 2 inches or exactly 3 inches. And I told you yesterday about how most rulers, like if you look at the standard ruler that you buy at Walmart, the plastic rulers, they actually have technically 14 marks in between each inch because things exist at very different lengths. So you need to be able to measure exactly how long something is because things aren't always going to be exactly 1 inch or 1.5 inches or 2.5 inches. Sometimes things fall in between. Okay, so as you get older, you're going to learn about more of those marks in between. And today we're going to be talking about those quarter inch marks. So yesterday when you looked at rulers, okay, when you were looking at a ruler yesterday, the rulers you guys looked at had only the whole inch marks and 1 mark in between the whole inch marks. So those would be the green marks. Pretend these red marks don't exist for a minute, right? And the green mark was like, a little bit shorter than the whole inch mark, and it stood for a half, okay? That hasn't changed today. Today, those marks are still going to stand for a half, but we've also added in these smaller marks, and these are our quarter inch marks, okay? And let me show you what that's going to look like. This has a little bit to do with fractions on a number line because that is what we're talking about, right? I mean, half, that's a fraction, 1 over 2. Quarter, that's a fraction, 1 over 4. Okay, so we're talking about cutting things into parts, okay, cutting inches into parts. And when you cut something up into parts, those parts can be named with a fraction. Okay, so we're bringing in our fractions on a number line knowledge to measure today. Okay, and so let's take a look at this. Go ahead and check this out for me. This is hard for kids to understand, but I want you to try to get it. This is 1 inch, right? Do you see the black line I just drew? So I created a rectangle here that's 1 inch long, right? Do you notice how many parts are in this rectangle? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 parts? What do we call 4 parts? We call them fourths. Each of these parts is 1/4. Okay? So that means if these were fractions on a number line, right? This would be 0/4 because this is the beginning. Okay, imagine now this is a number line. This would be 0/4. Okay? This would be 1/4. This would be 2/4. This would be 3/4. And this, what would this be? 4/4 equal to 1 whole inch. We know 4/4 is equal to 1 whole. We know this about fractions. 4/4 equals 1 whole, 5/5, 6/6, whatever, always equals 1 whole, right? So check this out. Okay, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. This is what these little marks in between 0 and 1 on a ruler mean. They mean 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. I mean, at least if there's 4 of them, but stay with me, right? Okay, so that means over here, this is where things get tricky. Usually with fractions on a number line, you would go like 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4. No, not with rulers, okay? With rulers, we just keep rewriting this, right? 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, okay? And so let's say you're measuring today to the nearest quarter of an inch, okay? How long is this purple line? How long is this purple line? Okay, just like yesterday, okay, the purple line, which whole number does it pass? Okay, whole number, not a fraction. Fractions are not whole numbers. Fractions describe parts, okay? These black numbers, they represent whole numbers, okay? 1 is a whole number, okay? So this purple line has passed the 1. Has it passed the 2? No, it hasn't, right? So the purple line is 1 inch, and where does it fall? It falls on the 1/4 inch mark, on the 1/4 inch mark. So this purple line is 1 1/4 of an inch, okay? 1 1/4 of an inch. So basically, all you need to remember is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, right? And you're done? No, unfortunately, okay? This is not me making it more complicated to torture you. This is just something they want you to understand. And you can understand this. I believe in you, okay? They kind of take things a step further with measuring on these rulers, okay? So if you've got this 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, you're fantastic, okay? But there's something else to consider. Do you see this long green mark? Remember how we talked about before this lesson started, how yesterday when you were looking at the ruler, right, and there was no red marks, there was only the green mark in the middle when you were measuring to the nearest 1/2 inch, and it stood for a half because it was halfway between 0, 1, 1, or halfway between 1 and 2 or whatever, okay? This green mark still, okay, look at what I'm going to do. This green mark still symbolizes 1/2. Okay? It still symbolizes 1/2. Technically, the middle mark shows 2/4 and 1/2. So I know you're thinking, what are you talking about, Mr. So? Why is it both fractions? And I hate this. Yes, I know. It's annoying. Okay? It's annoying, but it's true. The reason that the green mark can stand for both 2/4 and 1/2 is because 2/4 and 1/2 are equal, okay? So we're having to bring in more fractions about knowledge. Equal, mister, so equivalent fractions, mister. So yes, equivalent fractions. It's been a while since we visited with them, but they're back to haunt us once more. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. Am I making that up? No, it's true. How do I know? I'll use cross multiplication to show you. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. The butterfly method. Remember what we learned about equivalent fractions? 4 equals 4. That means these fractions are definitely equal to one another. So, why do you need to know this? Why is this important? Because in 3rd grade, they don't just want you to know that this mark is 2/4. They want you to call it 1/2, even when you are measuring to the nearest 1/4 or 1/4. Why? Why do they want you to do this? Because 1/2 is the Beyonce of fractions. She's the most important fraction. Everybody loves her. Everybody wants her to be recognized and to know her. So, what does this mean for you today? This is what it means for you today, okay? What it means for you today is when you are looking at measuring to the nearest 1/4 of an inch today, you don't want to say 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, even though that would be correct. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's true. This is 1/4, this is 2/4, and this is 3/4. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. That's true. But because, sorry, I want to make sure I don't mess that up. Okay. But because 2/4 is equal to 1/2, and 1/2 is the Beyonce of fractions, they don't want you to say 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. We'll stick the 3/4 in there. They still want you to call this 1/2. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. Why? Why? I don't know why. That's just what they want. Okay? So, let's say a question says, what is the measurement of the orange line to the nearest 1/4 or 1/4 of an inch? Even though they're saying 1/4 or 1/4, look at this orange line. Where does it stop? It stops approximately here, right? Okay, I know it's not perfect, but pretend it stops exactly there, right? That means that the measurement of this line, this orange line, is 1 whole inch, right? Because it goes past the 1. Does it go past the 2? No. 1 whole inch and a half. 1.5 inches. Even though we're measuring to the nearest quarter inch, we would still say 1.5 inches. Why can't we say 1 2/4 inches? This is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. No, you can't do it. Why? Because 1/2 is the Beyonce of fractions. Okay, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. This information is going to be muy importante today. Okay. I believe in you. You can handle this. If you need something, call me. If you're missing assignments, get them done. Okay. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.